During the video call, a cat suddenly leapt into my boss's lap. Every single person on the screen turned to look at me, because just a minute ago, that exact cat had been fast asleep in my camera frame. I opened my mouth to explain. The boss gave the cat a pat on the butt and said, "Good girl, go find mommy. Kill me now." I ended up living with my boss, Miles Covington. And it was entirely by accident. At the time, I'd just been made permanent on the project team at his company. The kind of assistant whose name wouldn't even register on his radar. But I had a side gig. Pet sitting. Professionally speaking, in-home animal care. It was a typical weekend. I'd picked up a job through the platform, packed my kit, and headed over to the client's place. I'd just finished bathing the cat when I heard the front door click open behind me. I turned, and locked eyes with Miles, just back from a business trip. To say I froze is an understatement. I was stone. Never, not in a million years, did I think my little side hustle would land me in my boss's house. I tried to play it cool. Told myself there was no way he knew me, no way he'd remember me, and kept my head down, busying myself with blow-drying his cat. When the dryer clicked off, Miles stepped up beside me. He'd changed into something soft and casual, standing backlit in the warm afternoon light. From where I sat, his frame was carved in gold. He looked unfairly good. But this was not the time to swoon. I turned my head just enough so my hair would shield my face. He asked simply, "Have you been the one coming over the past few times?" I nodded silently. And silently cursed myself. How had I missed the fact that this was his place? "You've done a good job," he said, then added, "Would you be interested in something more long-term?" Sorry, what? This cat's a handful. If it weren't for... He paused, then said, "Never mind. Point is, I need someone to help take care of her full-time. Ideally live-in. Pays negotiable. You in?" I blinked. Like, a live-in nanny? Or housekeeper? He let out a quiet laugh. "If that helps you process it, sure." I hesitated. "I already have a job." "I know," he said casually. "You're Aiden's assistant in the project department, right?" Then he looked me straight in the eye. "I remember you, Eleanor." That hit like a meteor. He knew my name. He said, "You'll still work at the office during the day. Just stay here in the evenings to help with her. It won't interfere with your job." I was scrambling for a way out. That's when Miles added, almost offhandedly, "Pretty sure it's company policy that employees aren't allowed to moonlight, right?" And just like that, I was snapped back to reality. The reason I was hiding this side job in the first place? I didn't want to risk losing the full-time position I'd just secured. His tone was somewhere between threat and temptation. "You stay and help with the cat, and I'll let it slide." I had no choice. I nodded. And that's how I ended up living with Miles. Well, technically, with his cat. His cat's nickname was Chestnut. According to Miles, Chestnut had an attitude problem. She was standoffish, loud at night, and had a thing for scratching people. The way he said it, especially that last part, you could tell there was history there. Deep, possibly painful history. I had to bite back a laugh. It reminded me of a certain intern-era rumor that once swept through the office like wildfire. For a solid few weeks, Miles had been showing up to work with suspiciously suggestive scratch marks on his neck, his forearm. Given the man's position, and his usual cold, buttoned-up demeanor, this was headline news in our break room. Some were convinced it was a girlfriend marking her territory, warning off the parade of office hopefuls. Others admired his alleged stamina, late-night escapades and 12-hour workdays. The man was a machine. Everyone had a theory. None of us guessed it was just the cat. While I was still quietly laughing to myself, Miles spoke again. "I've got a video call tonight. You're in charge of her." I nodded solemnly, accepting the sacred mission. How hard could it be? Apparently, very. Just before the call, I got a message from Aiden, my mentor at work. 8 p.m. Join this meeting room. Took some effort to get you an observer seat. Learn everything you can. I stared at the meeting link, then at Chestnut, blissfully passed out next to me, and felt my soul leave my body. My main job had just crashed into my side hustle. I should have known. You hang around the river long enough, you're gonna get wet. Resigned, I typed back got it, repositioned my webcam, and joined the call from the farthest corner of the room, miles away from the feline. The meeting began. Then, right on cue, Chestnut stirred. She yawned. Stretched. And, with full diva confidence, strutted directly into the camera frame. The host went dead silent. A dozen executives glanced up from their screens. All eyes locked on the cat. Chestnut stopped dead center in the frame, blinked like she owned the place, and flopped down with a soft plop. Out cold again. I panicked. I'm so sorry. I'll move her right away. But before I could stand, Miles' voice cut in, smooth and unbothered. It's fine. Let her sleep. And that was that. With the boss's blessing, the others chimed in, so cute, adorable, etc., and the meeting rolled on like nothing happened. The 10 minutes before the meeting, most of my attention was glued to the cat. Thankfully, Chestnut stayed asleep and didn't stir. I started to relax, slowly shifting focus back to the meeting itself. Right on cue, my mentor Aiden began presenting. I knew he'd quiz me on it tomorrow, so I was scribbling notes at lightning speed, barely even looked up. Then, mid-sentence, Aiden's voice cut out. I looked up, confused. And saw it. There was now a second cat on screen, this time in Miles's camera. Not just in frame. In his lap. Perfectly positioned, smug and relaxed like she owned the damn place. Silence fell across the meeting. Everyone froze. Then, like a synchronized dance, all heads turned toward my camera. Panic punched me in the chest. I forced myself to look behind me. Sure enough, the spot where Chestnut had been peacefully napping was empty. The cat had vanished. Correction, the cat had wandered straight into Miles's arms. My brain went into overdrive, scrambling for an explanation, any explanation that wouldn't get me completely wrecked. Then Chestnut, traitorous little beast, shifted in his lap, wiggled her butt, and let out a loud, chirpy meow. My stomach dropped. Without missing a beat, Miles gently patted her rump and said, "Good girl. Go find mommy." I wanted the earth to swallow me whole. Silence. Utter, suffocating silence. No one said a word, but the looks were deafening. 2 department heads who'd made my life hell during training were now shooting me guilty, borderline apologetic glances. I dropped my head, mortified beyond recovery. There was no saving this. Those eyes, those loaded, knowing eyes, were screaming the same thing. So you're the cat's mom. So that's how it is. I sighed. There was nothing left to do but accept my fate. Turns out, that sigh of mine came way too soon. Because Chestnut, like she actually understood English, hopped down from Miles's lap and trotted her way back into my room, just like he told her to. Now she was sitting at my feet, that round little face tilted up, staring at me with those big, glassy eyes like I'd just hung the moon. For a full 2 seconds, my brain short-circuited. Then a single, crystal-clear thought punched through. She absolutely cannot appear in my frame again. One more cameo, and I'll be branded as the CEO's secret live-in girlfriend till the end of time. I was mentally negotiating with her, just stay there. Be cool. I beg you, when Miles spoke again, his voice calm, almost playful. Funny. Where'd your cat go? I plastered on a smile and forced myself to face the camera. She, found a new nap spot. Oh? He gave a casual nod. Looks a lot like mine. That one line, dry, light, unbothered, cut straight through the tension choking the meeting. Aiden was the first to recover, clearing his throat and jumping back in. Right. Mr. Covington, as I was saying earlier. Miles leaned back, the cool executive mask sliding effortlessly back into place. Go ahead. The meeting carried on. Chestnut, thankfully, stayed put. She curled up at my feet, alternating between grooming herself and dozing off like nothing ever happened. I, on the other hand, sat through the rest of that call with every muscle in my body clenched. By the time it ended and I switched off my camera, I was drenched in sweat. My shirt clung to my back like I'd run a marathon. I looked down at Chestnut, still playing with her own tail like the agent of chaos she absolutely was. I reached down and gave her a light bop on the forehead. You're not sleeping in my room tonight. Not after that stunt. After showering, I returned her to her bedroom, a space twice the size of mine, by the way. Just as I opened the door, I nearly walked straight into Miles. He'd clearly just showered too. His hair was still damp, a few drops trailing down from his temples, disappearing into the collar of his t-shirt and tracing out the cut of his chest. I bit the inside of my cheek, trying very hard to keep my eyes on a safe zone. He looked a little caught off guard too. Took a sip of water. Then another. By the time he stopped, half the glass was gone. And that's when it hit me, tonight maybe been chaos from the main job side, but I'd completely botched the side job too. I'm sorry, I blurted. I didn't manage her properly tonight. Miles blinked, surprised. Then he said, no, it's fine. I should have seen it coming too. He hesitated, then added, like he wanted to clear something up. I've just gotten used to saying it like that. Don't take it personally. He meant the go find mommy line. I shook my head quickly. It doesn't matter. The reason Miles started calling me Chestnut's mom goes all the way back to the day we signed the contract. It was me, Miles, the company lawyer, and, oddly enough, a pet behavior specialist. She was there to assess Chestnut's psychological condition. To put it simply, Miles wanted to reform her. No more random yelling at night. No more scratching unsuspecting limbs. He wanted a soft, well-mannered, civilized little cat. That responsibility? Dropped squarely on my shoulders. Not that I was complaining. The bonus package was persuasive. The specialist was sharp, though, actually gave me some solid advice. A cat raised without consistent affection can develop attachment issues. Insecurity, aggression, withdrawal, it's all linked. But it's reversible. What she needs is the kind of care a mother would give. If you can give her that, I believe she'll come around. One day, she'll understand you and Mr. Covington are doing your best for her. Apparently, the only part Miles heard was motherly love. Because from that day forward, I was officially Chestnut's mom. Whenever she interrupted a call or wandered into his workspace, he'd pat her gently on the butt and say, "Go find mommy." Every single time. The only silver lining? Miles never once referred to himself as the dad. Because if that day ever comes, this household dynamic is going to get very weird, very fast. The morning after that video call incident, I barely had time to clock in before Aiden summoned me to his office. He looked uncharacteristically awkward. Fidgety, almost. When he finally spoke, it came out haltingly. So, last night. That cat. You and Mr. Covington, are you too? I jumped in before he could finish the sentence, forcing a laugh. Crazy, right? I didn't realize my cat looked so much like his. He blinked. So they're not the same cat? He gave a nervous chuckle. Because, a few people came up to me this morning asking how it feels to have Covington's wife as a mentee. I muttered, not true. He said so himself, they just look alike. Aiden exhaled with clear relief. Good. But then, after a second of silence, he gave me a suspicious side eye. Swear on our mentor-mentee bond, you really have nothing going on with him. I swear, I said honestly. There's nothing going on. He still didn't look 100% convinced. So I pressed. Come on, help me shut this rumor down. It's already gone way too far. Finally, he nodded. Yeah. I'll take care of it. With that, I left his office feeling 10 pounds lighter. The rest of the day was, blissfully, uneventful. No more weird looks. No whispered gossip. No cats on Zoom. By the time I got on the subway home, I thought maybe the drama had blown over. That's when Sasha messaged me. Hey, haven't seen you pick up any jobs lately. Everything okay? Sasha was the founder of the pet-sitting platform I used. I started taking jobs through her app back when I needed a stress outlet. Something about being around cats calmed me down. Couldn't have one of my own, so this was the next best thing. Over time, thanks to decent reviews and word of mouth, I ended up with a few loyal, request-only clients. Miles Covington had been one of them. Another message popped in. That client, Miss Chloe? Complained because it wasn't you who showed up. I blinked. Wait, how did she even know it wasn't me? Sasha replied almost instantly. Girl, are you serious? The place has cameras. Oh. Right. And just like that, another thought clicked into place. Miles's house had cameras too. Had to. Which begged the question, if he had footage from earlier visits, did he already know it was me all along? And if he did know, then why pretend not to? Why go through the whole, have you been the one coming here, routine? Unless he'd seen me, recognized me, and still requested me on purpose. To wait. To catch me moonlighting. To back me into a corner and rope me into becoming his full-time live-in cat nanny? Suddenly, that generous offer wasn't looking so random. Sasha's messages kept rolling in like a storm I couldn't stop. So I gave up trying and just told her the whole story. Even asked for her analysis. Okay, seriously, what do you think is going on? She fired back instantly, classic Sasha. You're actually this dumb? Girl, your boss is so into you it's not even subtle. I nearly dropped my phone. Are you kidding me right now? Then, silence. No follow-up. No LOL. No emoji. I sent a question mark. Eventually, she replied. Just trying to figure out if your IQ took after your mom or your dad. I'm telling you, I protested, he already has someone he likes. That cat proves it. That was a theory I'd quietly developed during my time in Miles's house. The man didn't exactly scream cat lover. But Chestnut? She was living like royalty. Her food? Imported. Her toys? Custom. Her room? Bigger than mine, fully furnished, air purified, and hung with a giant framed portrait of her majestic little face. No one puts that much effort into a cat unless she belongs to someone they're desperately trying to impress. Sasha went quiet again. I sent another question mark. Her reply. Just Googled your boss. Dude's a solid 9. If he likes you? Go for it. Full support. Then, a beat later. But also, could you start picking up shifts again? I've got rookies drowning over here. I sighed. For old time's sake. Fine. I'll help. What I didn't expect was how easy it would be to bring it up to Miles. I casually mentioned helping Sasha train a new sitter, and he didn't just agree, he practically encouraged it. Go, he said, with a confident nod. Leave Chestnut to me. I blinked. You sure? He gave a calm little wave. She'll be fine. Spoiler. She was not fine. That afternoon, I led the trainee to a client's home and gave him the full rundown, how to read client notes, how to stick to dietary restrictions, the right way to handle the picky eaters, and the do not touch zones. It was a full-on crash course. Just as we were getting into coat care and brushing technique, my phone rang. Miles. The second I picked up, I knew something was off. For the first time ever, his voice wasn't smooth and composed, it was urgent. Uncertain. How much longer will you be? An hour? Maybe less. What's wrong? Chestnut's been crying. Nonstop. I paused. Like, seriously crying? He went quiet. Then I heard it through the phone, Chestnut's yowling, sharp and miserable, like someone had stolen her soul. It was heartbreaking. I tried to troubleshoot. Okay, try giving her the freeze-dried tuna she likes. Or bring her into your lap and rub her belly gently, clockwise, she usually. She scratched me, he interrupted. And he sounded so defeated, it almost made me laugh. Chestnut wasn't the only one meowing at this point, Miles sounded pretty close himself. Big, terrifying CEO. Taken down by 6 pounds of fluff. It was weirdly adorable. I paused, phone still to my ear, then turned to the rookie. You think you can handle the rest on your own? He nodded. Eager. Determined. Good, I said. I've got an emergency. You've got this. I left without looking back. By the time I got home, the crisis had passed. The scene was perfectly serene, Miles lounging on the couch, Chestnut curled up beside him like nothing had ever happened. Except for the 2 fresh, angry red claw marks raking down his neck. I bit the inside of my cheek, barely holding in the laugh. I'm sorry, I said, sincerely. I shouldn't have taken another job. Technically, the contract did say I had to be with Chestnut anytime she needed companionship, and considering the pay was several times market rate, there was really no excuse. But Miles just shrugged it off like it was nothing. If anything, the fault's mine. He tried so hard to look composed, like he hadn't just been betrayed by a house cat. But all I could hear in my head was the way he'd said it on the phone. She scratched me. That tiny note of frustration, helplessness, honestly? Kind of cute. Still, I shook my head. No, it was my fault. I won't take outside jobs again. He didn't argue. Just asked, will that mess things up with Sasha? Nah, I said. I'll just let her know. I thought that would be the end of it. No more gigs. No more conflicts. Smooth sailing. What I didn't account for was overtime. Classic working girl mistake. That weekend, a sudden issue cropped up in the project, and our department manager wasted no time dragging everyone into the office. Even on a Saturday. Even with no notice. I stuck close to Aiden, doing what any good minion does, taking notes, saying got it, and praying the coffee wouldn't run out. Halfway through the grind, just as the energy was bottoming out, afternoon tea arrived. And so did Miles. He showed up at the door like a scene out of a rom-com. Laid back, sleeves rolled, holding a tray of desserts in one hand and hanging from his shoulder? A very obvious cat carrier. Thanks for working so hard, everyone, he said smoothly. Snacks are on me. The room erupted into cheers. He bent slightly, maybe to adjust his shoe, maybe just a cosmic accident, but the zipper on the cat bag was already open, and that was all the opportunity Chestnut needed. With ballerina-level grace, she leapt out and landed in the center of the room. It was the first time anyone in the department had ever seen her. They were captivated. Chestnut took her time, walking through the rows of desks like a feline celebrity on a press tour, poised, unbothered, steps like velvet. And then, in my rising horror, she padded right toward me. I stared at her. Pleaded with my eyes. Don't. Please don't. But she's a cat. And cats don't negotiate. Chestnut hopped into my lap like she'd done it 100 times. Because she had. She stretched, purred, and rubbed her head affectionately against my waist. Settled in. Cozy. Like she was home. The entire room fell dead silent. You could have heard a pen drop on carpet. And I just sat there, frozen, with one thought pounding through my brain. Oh. My. God. The entire office froze, like someone had hit pause on reality. 1 second ago, people were cheerfully divvying up bubble tea, mini cakes, and finger snacks. The next, they were statues. Every single pair of eyes was on me. Or rather, on the cat in my lap. Then on Miles. Then back to me. Then him again. A silent, looping stare-down of implications. Miles finally seemed to realize something was off. He squinted, feigned confusion, and let out a perfectly timed, "Huh, where's my cat?" My soul briefly left my body. I stood slowly, gently scooping up the traitor in my arms, and forced a grin. "Reporting in, sir, your cat's over here." Miles crossed the room, wearing a smile that was half fond, half exasperated. "This one's always running off," he said with a sigh, tone laced with just the right amount of performative frustration. "Last time she disappeared, I nearly tore the house apart looking for her." The room responded on cue with scattered chuckles. Some amused. Some awkward. I carefully handed Chestnut back, but she wasn't having it. She squirmed, craning her neck over my arm to give me one last, tragic look. Big eyes full of betrayal. Tiny paws reaching back like she was being wrenched from the arms of her true love. The dramatics were Oscar-worthy. Miles raised a brow and teased, "Seems like she's really taken to you." I let out a weak laugh. "Probably just because she looks like the one I have at home." He didn't challenge it. Just nodded and walked off with Chestnut, who kept glancing back at me like a little hostage. But even after he left, the weirdness lingered. I could feel it, every unspoken thought, every hushed assumption hanging in the air like perfume. I didn't know if anyone actually bought Miles' story. Hell, I wasn't even sure I did. And Aiden? Let's just say the way he looked at me had changed. The innocence was gone. I tried to hold it in. Really, I did. But 5 minutes later, I caved and opened a chat with Miles. "Me? Why'd you bring her here?" "Miles. She wanted to see you." I couldn't stop her. Lies. Blatant, shameless lies. Cats don't write Google Calendar invites. Before I could hit him with a snarky reply, another message came in. "Miles. She's been restless at home." Loud. And then, before I could even type "I taught you how to handle that," he sent a video. In the clip, Chestnut was going feral. Zooming across his office like a streak of blue and white lightning. From leather couch to solid wood desk, to floor-to-ceiling window, to break room table. The cat was on a parkour mission of destruction. In the background, I heard a faint, tired sigh. "She's at it again." And just like that, he sent one more message. "Miles. Any chance you could come up for a bit? Just to calm her down?" I stared at the screen. Thought about boundaries. About professionalism. About workplace gossip. Then I sighed, shoved my phone in my pocket, and stood up. Some battles aren't worth fighting. Especially when you've already lost to the cat. When I went to ask Aiden for leave, he reverted straight back to awkward mentor mode. Go ahead," he stammered. "Take as long as you need. Don't even worry about coming back for overtime." If I had to find a silver lining in this whole mess, it'd be this. The office suitors backed off. There used to be a handful of male coworkers who were a little too enthusiastic, flowers, snacks, flirty texts that toe-danced around professionalism. It was always hard to reject them outright without making things weird, especially when we were stuck in the same office every day. But now? After the great cat lap incident and the Miles rumor mill explosion? Peace. Glorious peace. No more gifts. No more hovering. The storm of gossip had somehow cleared the air. Call it a chaotic blessing. Before I knew it, the holidays rolled around. Technically, both my jobs, main and side, were just different branches of Miles Covington Incorporated, but I was still legally entitled to time off. So I asked if I could go home to visit my parents. Miles agreed instantly. Thanks to my relentless training, his cat care skills had leveled up significantly. He even gave a confident little nod. "Don't worry. I've got this." And to his credit, he kind of did. Over the holiday, he sent me videos at all hours, morning, noon, night. They were all cat-related. Chestnut waking up. Chestnut napping. Chestnut eating. Chestnut pooping. Chestnut playing with a feather wand like she was auditioning for Cirque du Soleil. It was all the same cat, doing the same cat things. And yet, somehow, I couldn't stop watching. That's when I realized. It wasn't just that I had worked my way into her life. She'd slipped her way into mine, too. The videos made me smile, but they didn't satisfy. I missed her. Okay, fine. I missed them. So I cut my trip short, snuck back into the house quietly, and decided to surprise them. The door clicked open, and I paused in the entryway. From the living room, I heard Miles's voice. "Want a can of tuna?" he was saying. A soft meow. "Say daddy." Another meow. One more. "Say it cute, and daddy'll give you some." Mew. I stood there, frozen in place. Eyes wide. Soul slowly leaving my body. The second Miles saw me standing in the doorway, he practically jumped to his feet. It was a blur, one moment he was mid-baby talk, the next he was standing stiff as a board, like he'd been caught cheating on a final exam. The can of tuna vanished behind his back like it was state evidence. He was clearly mortified. And, honestly? So was I. We stood there, locked in shared horror, like I'd just walked in on something private. Intimate. Unspeakable. Miles cleared his throat, voice tight. The behaviorist said it's important for the cat to feel surrounded by affection. That she needs not only maternal love but also, fatherly. He trailed off. Closed his eyes. Visibly cringed. That split-second expression of pure self-loathing might have been the most human I'd ever seen him. I jumped in, trying to save him. Right. Totally. I read that too. Makes perfect sense. He was still flustered, but the ever-composed Mr. Covington was starting to resurface. "What brought you back early?" he asked. I pointed to the furry trader now sitting behind him. "Missed her." He stepped aside, and as soon as Chestnut saw me, she bolted forward like a child running to her parent after summer camp. She immediately wrapped herself around my legs, full Velcro mode. Wherever I walked, she followed. Every few steps, she'd stop and look up at me with those huge, soulful eyes like I'd hung the stars. I scooped her up, burying my face in her fur, partly because I missed her, and partly because I was trying to recover from the fact that I had just heard Miles Covington say, unironically, "Say daddy." That sentence had no business living in my head. It was the emotional equivalent of seeing him wear heels to a board meeting. Unhinged. Traumatizing. At some point, he disappeared into the background, probably to go scrub the memory of that moment out of existence. Meanwhile, I clung to Chestnut like she was a weighted blanket. Trying to steady my brain, which now had one very inconvenient, very persistent thought. What if Miles actually likes me? Because, really, how many coincidences can you chalk up to just coincidence? The side eyes. The teasing. The way Chestnut magically kept finding her way into my lap, or my Zoom calls, or my life. So, naturally, I called Sasha. Her response? Brutal. Immediate. On brand. God, you really are slow. Then, like she was solving a third-grade math problem. This is easy. You want to know how he feels? Test him. Test him how? She whispered her plan into my ear like we were in a spy movie. I nodded. Reluctantly, but with growing conviction. Come Monday, right before the end of the workday, I executed. Me. Covington, I've got plans tonight. Might be back late. Miles. What plans? Me. My mom set me up with a guy. Blind date. Technically it was just dinner with Sasha, but details. A pause. Then his reply came through. Miles. Got it. I'll take care of the cat alone. At dinner, Sasha pointed at the last message Miles sent and said, "This is textbook guilt trip bait." Huh? She put on a dramatic voice, mimicking him. Sure, go enjoy your date. I'll just be here, alone, with the cat, by myself, it's fine. She jabbed her chopsticks in the air, dead serious. 90%. That was her updated estimate of how likely it was that Miles liked me. And that number? Jumped straight to 100% the moment he sent over another chestnut video mid-meal, captioned with a simple, "She keeps looking at the door." Sasha sighed and clapped me on the shoulder like I was heading off to war. I used to ship you too. I really did. But now? I'm scared for you. I blinked. Why? He's good. Like, scary good. The kind of man who'll have you emotionally house-trained before you even realize the leash is on. I laughed. Come on, it's not that deep. She gave me a long, steady look. Oh, it is. I'm not even trying to date him, I added. She paused, then grinned wickedly. Perfect. You're exactly the kind of girl who could eat a guy like that alive. I support this. By the time Miles messaged to say he was coming to pick me up, Sasha had vanished with suspicious speed. His black Maybach pulled up smooth as glass. He stepped out to meet me, looking around with a subtle glance. I raised an eyebrow. What are you looking for? Your date, he said simply. Oh. He had something come up. Left early. Miles nodded, just once, then opened the car door for me without another word. It wasn't until I sat down that I realized. He was dressed up. Seriously dressed up. Custom-tailored shirt. Slim-cut trousers. Leather shoes that had never seen a scuff in their life. His hair was slicked back with just enough gel to look effortless. And that watch on his wrist? Worth more than my college tuition. Whatever event he'd dressed for, gala, award show, GQ cover shoot, he'd clearly taken a detour, for this. For me. He pulled onto the road, casual as ever, and asked, so. How'd the date go? I stuck to Sasha's plan. It went well. He didn't flinch. I went on. He's got great credentials. Funny, kind, emotionally intelligent, very considerate. Knows how to take care of people. Miles said nothing. I twisted the knife a little further. I really liked him. That was when I saw it, his knuckles tightening on the steering wheel, skin going pale at the tips. It hit me then. Hard. If I really didn't want anything from him, if I was serious about keeping boundaries, I wouldn't be testing him. The kindest thing would have been to say nothing at all. To let the distance grow and stay clean. But the words were already out. The blade was in the air. Miles pulled over slowly. Parked. For a moment, he just sat there, eyes forward, thinking. Then he asked, "What about the cat?" I blinked. What? You're dating someone now. So, what happens to the cat? I don't see what that has to do with anything. If the cat doesn't matter, he said, voice tight, then what about me? And before I could fully form a reply, he went quiet. Then looked at me. Really looked at me. The cabin was dim, but his eyes were burning bright. A mix of hesitation and certainty, restraint and desire. I like you, he said. Just like that. No build-up. No defenses. His voice was steady, but there was something raw underneath. You're going on dates. Smiling at someone else. And I'm here, liking you. He swallowed hard. What do I do with that? Suspecting something is one thing. Having it confirmed is another. And right now? All I could think was. I shouldn't have tested him. I shouldn't have poked at it. Shouldn't have been curious. Knowing Miles likes me, didn't help. It didn't change anything, except make everything messy, eh? I gave a weak, awkward smile, trying to steer the conversation back to neutral ground. It's not like I'm planning to actually date him. But you like him, he said flatly. If you like someone, isn't dating just a matter of time? What kind of universal law was that? In his eyes, did he really think I was just one emotion away from falling into someone's arms? Like, oh, I like this man, therefore he will obviously like me back, and then we will date. As if the universe worked on emotional IOUs. Before I could speak, he answered his own thought. Yes. That's how it works. Then he looked right at me. And what about me? You know how I feel now, what do you think about that? This version of Miles, post-confession Miles, was oddly relentless. Like a man on a mission. No room for ambiguity. No backup plan. I wasn't used to this side of him. And I didn't know how to handle it. So I said the most honest, terrified thing I could manage. Why me? The moment the words left my mouth, the temperature in the car shifted. He went silent. Heavy, loaded silence. Then, finally, he spoke, and he sounded hurt. All this time we've been living together. You and me and that cat. Day in, day out. That doesn't count for anything? I looked at him, struggling to form a reply. He leaned back slightly, eyes narrowed, not angry, but curious in that sharp, unsettling way of his. You got a photo of this guy? He didn't even wait for a yes. Let me guess. Average guy. Average face. I muttered, he's just normal. Miles gave a dry, quiet laugh, the corner of his mouth pulling tight. Normal guy, he repeated. Average face. And he left you standing there by yourself tonight. Real gentleman. His voice shifted. Soft, serious. So what is it, then? What does he have that I don't? I had no answer. This wasn't a conversation anymore, it was a spiral. The kind you didn't know how to climb out of. Say no? Walk away? But how? He was my boss. My landlord. My everything, at this point. And so I tried the only exit I could think of. Can I quit? It slipped out quieter than I expected. That shut him up. He looked at me for a long moment, something unreadable in his eyes. Then, at last, he answered, voice low. You signed a 1-year contract. Leaving now counts as a breach. That means a hefty penalty. He added, pointedly. You signed that pet care agreement. With your own hand. My stomach dropped. I knew then, he'd already thought this through. Then. He cut me off immediately. Don't think about quitting. Don't think about moving out. Then, calm and final. I'll move. I froze. Wait, what? You and Chestnut stay. I'll move out. I stared at him, stunned. He went on, half smiling now, half pained. That apartment was never for me anyway. It was for the cat. And the cat was always for you. He let out a dry, bitter laugh. You have no idea how long it took to find a cat that wouldn't listen to me. It was harder than hiring a CTO. And just like that, my brain completely short-circuited. Miles really did move out. Just like he said he would, he packed up and left, leaving me and Chestnut alone in his absurdly oversized downtown apartment. And only after he was gone did I realize just how ridiculously big the place actually was. Like, could host the Olympics in the hallway big. Echoes. Empty corners. Entire wings I'd never even fully explored. Chestnut didn't seem to care. She kept up her usual routine of eating, sleeping, occasionally committing light property damage. But here and there, her behavior started to shift. Sometimes, she'd bring me Miles' old slippers in her mouth like a tiny, furry messenger, drop them at my feet, and sit back, staring at me with those big, round eyes as if to ask, "Where's Dad?" Other times, she'd march herself into Miles' now empty bedroom, hop on his bed, roll around like she was trying to embed her scent into every fiber of the sheets, then stretch out a paw toward me, inviting me to join her. She was grieving him. And honestly, so was I. Not in some grand, romantic way. Not exactly. It was more like a habitual kind of missing. A quiet, creeping absence that followed me around. I'd gotten used to him, used to seeing him in the kitchen, by the windows, walking down the hall with his perfectly cuffed sleeves and his phone glued to his ear. Now, there was no trace of him. No connection. Work didn't overlap. Life didn't intersect. It was like he'd never been here at all. Like I'd dreamed him. Which, I guess, was what I wanted: distance, separation, boundaries. And yet, Chestnut started crying at his bedroom door. Real crying. Loud, yowling, mournful wails that echoed through the apartment like tiny ghosts. I lasted 3 nights. Then I caved. Picked up my phone, opened our chat, and sent a message. "Me? You there?" He replied immediately. "Miles. What's wrong?" I didn't bother with words. I recorded a short clip, Chestnut pacing by his old bedroom door, meowing like her heart was breaking. I sent it, then added a caption. "Me. Chestnut misses her dad." And I don't know why, but just typing that made my ears go hot. It felt childish. Intimate. Like I was confessing something I wasn't supposed to say. Miles' reply came back fast, but not in the way I expected. "Miles. Let your dating guy come pet her." I blinked. Oh. So we were doing that. My fingers hovered over the screen. I could practically hear Sasha's voice in my head: "You're in the ring with a pro, babe. Level up or get out." So I typed. "Me. There is no dating guy. Nothing." So I went further. "Me. There isn't anyone I like either." I lied. About all of it. Still no reply. I waited a beat, then hit send on the only card I had left. "Me. Chestnut misses you." I was halfway through typing "so do I" when his response came through, not a message. A voice note. His voice was breathless, fast, low. "Open the door. I'm outside." So it turned out when Miles said he'd moved out, he meant to another unit in the same building. Just a different floor. Same address. Same view. He'd just timed everything so perfectly, leaving when I was asleep or out, that I hadn't seen him once. Which meant he'd been avoiding me, strategically. Now, reunited, Chestnut clung to him like Velcro. Purring. Nuzzling. Curling up in his arms like she'd never let go. I watched them for a while, cat content, man relaxed, the whole picture weirdly domestic. And the more I watched, the more it hit me. I'd been played. Chestnut's heartbreak. Her pitiful meows. Her door-crying dramatics. It was all part of it. I was starting to believe these two had staged a whole emotional ambush. Still, I brought him a glass of water, setting it down beside him. Then asked casually, "So, you still planning to leave?" His eyes lit up. "If you ask me to stay, I won't." Unbelievable. The man had no shame. Good thing he didn't need my permission. Chestnut was curled up in his lap like a furry bouncer, 2 paws locked tight on his shirt. Miles couldn't go anywhere if he tried. He looked up at me, gently stroking the cat's fur. "Can I take it to mean," he asked, voice soft, "that maybe, you missed me too?" I rolled my eyes. That's not the conclusion I'd go with. He just smiled, smug, confident, infuriating. "I've got excellent reading comprehension," he said. "And I think that's a very reasonable interpretation." I pressed my lips together, refusing to take the bait. No more word games. But Miles didn't push. He didn't need to. He just looked at me, really looked. quiet, steady, and maddeningly sure of himself. After a while, I caved. "Why do you like me?" The question had been circling my head for days. Weeks, maybe. If he'd planned this from the start, before I joined the company, before the cat, before everything, then how? We'd never even met. He hesitated. Not because he didn't want to say it, because he was choosing how to say it. "When I was first starting out," he said slowly, "things were rough. There was a week I got caught in a nasty business hit job. People were after me. I got jumped. I was bleeding. Sitting on the curb, middle of the night. Looked like hell." He paused. "And then you walked by. Total stranger. You looked at me for 2 seconds, then handed me a bag of snacks. Chestnut flavored. Said they were good. I blinked. That's it?" He frowned, like he genuinely didn't understand the disappointment in my voice. "You were wearing a white and blue t-shirt," he added. "Hair up in a ponytail. You looked radiant." Not in a way I could explain. Not with words. It was love at first sight. I stared at him, completely unprepared for that answer. And that moment, he continued, stayed with me. I held on to it. For a long time, I kept telling myself I didn't deserve to chase after you. That I didn't want to ruin you. I didn't want to pull you into the mess of who I was. He smiled faintly. And then one day, I see your resume on my desk. I can't even describe what that felt like. I thought maybe, for once, life was giving me a second chance. He looked me dead in the eye. And this time, I'm not letting it slip through my fingers. The way he said it, calm, certain, unwavering, left me speechless. Chestnut shifted slightly in his lap, and he leaned forward, nudging me gently with his knee. It was the first time he'd touched me like that. Unapologetic. Intentional. "If there's no dating guy," he said softly, "and no one else you like." He paused. "Then is there a chance, any chance at all, that you like me?" Then what? What happened next? Sasha's eyes sparkled with gossip-fueled glee. "What did you say to him?" "Right then?" "I didn't," I said. "What do you mean you didn't?" I didn't answer. I paused. It didn't feel like a no, but I couldn't just say yes that easily either. I looked at her, serious. Because if I did say I liked him, then that means we're together, right? That's a big step. And kind of fast. She narrowed her eyes. "What exactly are you afraid of?" "Honestly?" I said. "That he likes me." Sasha blinked. "You lost me. It doesn't feel real. Not the kind of real you can trust." Sasha gave me that look, the one that says, "You sweet summer child." "That's because you don't understand male obsession," she said, settling into her armchair like some war-weary philosopher. "When a guy wants something and doesn't get it, especially when he's young, that want doesn't just vanish. It festers. Becomes an itch under the skin. A quiet, aching ghost that visits every night just before sleep. That's why men chase success like their lives depend on it." I stared, stunned. She grinned. "Same reason you're still obsessed with those spicy chips your mom banned you from eating when you were 6. Damn. That actually made sense. She sighed suddenly, dramatically. "But you know what? I'm relieved now." "Relieved?" I echoed. "I used to worry," she said. "A guy like him? Miles Covington? Fox in a tailored suit. You wouldn't stand a chance. But now?" She smirked. "Now I think maybe he's the one outmatched." I blinked. "So what should I do?" She shrugged. "Simple. If you like him, go for it. If you don't, walk away." That night, I made my choice. And the first thing I did back at Miles' apartment was pack. Not to leave. Just to make a point. Naturally, he panicked the second he walked in and saw me folding clothes. He rushed over, alarmed. Wait, what's going on? Are you moving out? I took a breath, met his eyes, and asked, calmly, if we just started dating, would it really be appropriate for us to be living together already? His mouth opened to protest. Then he stopped. And realization dawned. For a moment, all that slick CEO composure melted away, replaced by something boyish and stunned. His eyebrows lifted, lips parted, like he wasn't sure if he'd heard me right. Then, slowly, cautiously, a smile crept up his face, eyes lighting like someone had just handed him a dream he didn't dare believe was real. I guess, he said gently, that might be a little fast. His voice was quiet. Like he didn't want to scare the moment away. But you know, he added, not all relationships follow the same script. Some people move in together after they date. Some might just fall in sync and realize they already feel like home. Do you think that's what we are? He nodded, certain. Yeah. I do. I hesitated, just a little. He saw it. And then he pulled his trump card. Besides, he said, Chestnut can't live without you now. He stepped closer. Carefully. Gently. Then he reached out and pulled me into his arms, slow, steady, no rush, no pressure. Just warmth and a quiet promise. He held me like something he wasn't willing to lose again. Then he whispered, and neither can I. I can't live without you. The first real headache after making it official with Miles? Telling my mentor. Because let's be honest. I was the one who swore, repeatedly, that there was nothing going on between me and Miles Covington. And Aiden? Well, he'd never fully bought it, but suspicion is one thing, admission is another. He'd been instrumental in my growth at the company. Thanks to him, I'd gone from a clueless newbie to someone who could actually run a project. Alone. He deserved honesty. So one day, during a company outing, I decided to rip off the Band-Aid. In the car, I casually flipped through my phone gallery and turned the screen toward him. Look, I said, this is my cat. He glanced over. Yeah, I know you have a cat. I swiped to the next photo. This is also Covington's cat. That one landed. He blinked, then turned his full attention to me. There was a long pause. Finally, he exhaled, deep and dramatic, like something had clicked. I frowned. What? He just waved it off. Nothing. Just trying to figure out how I'll answer when someone asks me what it's like to mentor Mrs. Covington. I'm sorry, sir, are you secretly evil? After I sort of came clean to Aiden, Miles took that as a green light to go fully unhinged. He started bringing Chestnut to the office. Frequently. And every single time? She made a beeline to my desk. Without fail. It didn't take long before people stopped pretending not to notice. Because really, what boss's cat only hangs out with a specific assistant? Our relationship stopped being an open secret and became, just open. And Miles? He thrived in the attention. He'd come stand by my desk at the end of the day. No rush. No excuse. Just him. Waiting. He'd draw attention without even trying. A man like that, well-dressed, absurdly handsome, powerful, doesn't just blend in. Even his yawns drew whispers. One day, someone asked politely, Mr. Covington, didn't sleep well last night? Miles smiled, casual as anything. The cat was acting up. He paused, then added, kept me up half the night. Meowing, scratching. I turned to him, confused. Chestnut had been perfectly behaved lately. And then it hit me. He wasn't talking about the cat. I elbowed him in the side, mortified. He just grinned and leaned in slightly. Can we go? I dropped my hand and muttered under my breath, you can sleep with the cat tonight, not me. But the real finale came when Miles decided to end the speculation with a single post. One picture. Our wedding photo. He wore a tailored black suit. I wore white. He captioned it. Meet the new boss. The comments exploded: congrats, shock, confessions from coworkers who'd totally called it. And just like that, all the blurred lines, the whispers, the rumors vanished. We were official, public, and headed straight into our next chapter, hand in hand. The end.